Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated live on Channels Television. Here's what's coming up on the show today. South Africa is back in the spotlight with a blockbuster $3.5 billion Eurobond sale, and investors' demand is surging. And Zimbabwe's economy is on the upswing with growth expected to hit 6.6% this year, driven by agriculture, services, and mining. And investors are on edge as the U.S. releases its key PCE inflation data today, a report that could shake markets and signal the next moves from interest rates. It's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's get a quick check on what's playing out with the markets now in this TGIF trade. We're seeing gold prices largely unchanged today as rising U.S. Treasury yields that offset support from a weaker dollar, while markets wait today's U.S. inflation data for clues. And you see it's mostly green on the screen. There was spot gold, $4,254 per ounce. U.S. gold futures up 0.30%. And spot silver firmly on the way to $60 per ounce. It's $58.72, up 2.14%. The biggest mover today, this afternoon. Palladium, 1.75% up, $1,510 per ounce. Let's get a check on oil prices now. We're seeing oil prices steady, supported by stalled Ukraine peace talks, though gains were offset by expectations of a supply glut there. We see Brent crude, that's trading down this afternoon about $63.18 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude, that's down about 0.2%. Still trading sub $60, about $59.53 a barrel. For the week, Brent was largely stable, and WTI, that's on track to log a gain of about 1.7%, this week, marking the second straight weekly increase. So there you have it. It's a marginal drop there for Brent crude. Two other stories now. Rwanda is making headlines on the economic front. Today, the country signed yesterday, the country signed two major bilateral agreements, one with the U.S. and another with DRC, aimed at boosting regional integration, investment and shared prosperity. From mining to infrastructure, agribusiness, energy, these deals signal new opportunities for investors and underscore the economic benefits of peace and cooperation, in that region. So we have our eyes on that. And we see Zimbabwe as back on a growth watch. The government now says the economy is expected to expand by about 0.6% in 2025, thanks to rebounds in agriculture, mining, and manufacturing. With recovery underway after last year's drought and economic slump, analysts say this could mark a turning point for investors and businesses looking across southern Africa at this point. To other masses now, in electricity, the big win for shareholders at KenGen. The firm just approved a sharp dividend hike after reporting about 54% surge in profits this year, with a payout raised to about 90 cents, that's Kenyan shillings per share. Investors are cashing in as KenGen rides booming demand for electricity and taking advantage of cost savings and forex gains. It's a power play that could reshape confidence in East Africa's energy sector. And South Africa has just made a bold return to global markets, raising a whopping $3.5 billion in Eurobonds. After strong investor demand, the surge in appetite reflects growing confidence in the country's reforms, a firmer rand, and renewed optimism about economic stability. We'll see that we're breaking down what that means for markets, borrowing costs, and Africa's debt landscape. We'll definitely get more updates on that. Meanwhile, delegates at the Algeria Investment Summit underway in Johannesburg say Africa stands on the brink of a major economic breakthrough. They believe that if governments deliver on AfCFTA implementation, improve infrastructure, and unlock trade finance, the continent could generate hundreds of billions in new income, expand intra-Africa trade, create millions of jobs, and lift countless people out of poverty. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Simosa, has the report.
To South Africa, His Excellency Ali Ashwell says his country is unlocking key investment opportunities with a strong focus on infrastructure development, mining and energy across the African continent.
Mining sector is one of the important sector which South Africa have a very good experience, and now in Algeria we are trying to improve this sector of mining. They have many opportunities. I want to invite all our South African friends to come to Algeria and to see the opportunities of investing or to partner.
Imani Taumi, Assistant Manager of the Director General Algerian Investment Promotion Agency, says introducing a direct one-way flight from Algeria to South Africa in January next year will significantly strengthen trade relations between the two countries.
That flight will facilitate things further because instead of making connections and stops on other continents, not only other countries, we are making stops on other continents, there will be a flight right forward from Algeria to Johannesburg that will facilitate trade.
Delegates underscored the importance of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in creating millions of jobs, including better paid and higher quality jobs.
I think it will be great. From where we are, we don't think that there's a family that will go to bed with hunger. Everyone will be able to have the share of the economy. I think if you look in terms of the challenges in relation to the youth unemployment, that is going to be one of the contributing factors in making sure that we are able to make a serious stand in relation to that. But I think that the other area that we think that we can also be able to explore is in relation to the youth exchange programs.
So it's an interesting question that you ask if we get it right. And we don't actually have a choice. We have to get it right. And when we get it right, we open up the whole continent to do business with each other at fair prices. Now, it's quite interesting that if you look at countries inside Africa, they normally have tax breaks between countries outside of Africa. So it's more beneficial to do business outside of Africa than internally.
As discussions draw to a close, delegates say the real work begins now, turning today's commitments into meaningful action for communities on the ground. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
And now to our conversation. Nigeria's aviation industry is at a pivotal moment with, increasing passenger numbers, growing regional connectivity, and rising interest from investors and global partners. Now we explore the opportunities and challenges shaping the sector, from attracting international partners to developing, local maintenance and repair capabilities. Our discussion will highlight where, growth is the strongest, how Nigeria can position itself as a regional aviation hub, and the strategies needed to meet, the demands of a rapidly expanding market. Joining me now for this conversation, we have Mengiao Ma, Regional Manager, Africa, AVIC KDN Airport Engineering Co. Limited. Great to have you on the show.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so can you share your experience, of Nigeria so far? Tell us about the partners, you've brought into the country, many of whom are visiting for the first time. What has been the reaction and the stories that they've shared so far?
But frankly speaking, the first time I landed in Nigeria, I'm frustrated. There's a totally new environment. And I'd like to share experience when I landed in Nigeria. I landed in Lagos International Terminal, and I don't see any signs to guide me to the domestic terminal. So that's a bad experience, but I should say after that, Nigeria very warmly embraced me. And now I treat me as half Nigerian, actually.
Fantastic. So where do you see the biggest growth opportunities in Nigeria's aviation industry over the next couple of years?
Hear you clearly?
Okay, so where do you see opportunity for growth in Nigeria's aviation industry?
Okay. So the first thing I should mention is about the population. Everybody knows that Nigeria has the biggest population across the African continent. And now for aviation industry, there are up to 60 million passengers annually and expected 8% increase rates in aviation. So that's the first thing I should say. And secondly, I'd like to share experience during the air show. There a group of students visited the air show and visited our booth, and after that I asked a question to the students, what kind of job you want? And most of them said like, I wanted to be a pilot, I want to be a cabin crew. So I think during this time I can find that implant a seed in Nigerian people. So I think that's a good opportunities for Nigeria. And also, Katie is here, and we can be partners to improve civil aviation industry.
It's great to hear, students wanting to, be in the industry, when they get out of school. But, Nigeria currently serves about 16 million, air travelers annually. What areas of the aviation value chain, do you think are most prepared to absorb, this growing demand, from airlines, airports, and, support services?
Okay, actually, I should say, frankly speaking, Nigeria now currently is not fully prepared for 60 million passengers right now. So actually, for our companies, we wanted to build up all level, including from airport, expanding the airport, or building a new airport, from airlines and supplying equipments. And I also wanted to mention 3 words. The one is know how to improve all these areas I mentioned. And the second is definition or digital transformer to business. And the third thing I wanted to see is a national view and network including the relationship and all these areas. So there's 3 words. That's why Katie's name comes from. So based on these 3 words, that's the 3 foundation to improve this civil aviation industry.
And how do you think Nigeria can position itself as that regional aviation hub? What opportunities do you think exist for investors and operators to tap into this potential?
So actually, I don't want to mention too many times about the opportunities and the challenges and all these things. I have heard many times about the potential in Nigeria. So I'd like to mention a sentence from Excellency President of Nigeria. He said like this: if you want to go fast, there's no partners. You will go alone. And if you wanted to achieve some business, you should find some partners. You would find some partners. I think that's a good sentence to answer this question. So actually, for opportunities, we should collaborate together.
All right, you want to see more collaboration. Thank you so much, Meng Yao Mars, Regional Manager Africa, AVIC KDN Airport Engineering Co. Limited. Thank you for coming on the show today. All right, so we'll take
thank you. At the end, I'd like to see some words from Nigeria, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say in Chinese, 谢谢我的中国的合作伙伴们, and I want to say thank you in Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. Nangodi, Dalu, and Oshe. And Katie is here, you go better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, yeah, so there you have it. We'll get back to what's playing on in the markets that we track, but we'll take a quick break now. Don't go anywhere.
Dangote Refinery informs its valued customers and all users of PMS of its commitment to supply Nigerian domestic requirements. Dangote Refinery has the capacity to supply 1.5 billion litres of PMS per month, starting this December and in January. Supply will subsequently increase to 1.7 billion litres from February 2026. In view of this, Dangote will host officials of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority on site at our refinery site from December 1st to validate and publish daily production and stock volume. As Dangote seeks support, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to allow the refinery import its crude, feedstocks and blending components unhindered as well. A support lifting of products by vessel, Dangote is hopeful that continued delays in vessel clearance stop, so there will be no need to add unnecessary cost to PMS consumers. Please, let's allow the Nigeria First policy work to the benefit of all. Signed, David Bird, Chief Executive Officer.
All right, let's head straight to the markets now. On the African continent, with NGX, you see Nigeria equities market keeping its winning streak alive. With the all-share index, up about 43 basis points this morning after 3 consecutive sessions of gains. Now, notable movers at intraday include UCA surging about 10% today for a week-to-date gain of about 23%, while brewery stocks like Nigerian breweries, international breweries, also seeing strong buy interest. On the flip side, Mansard, Guinea Insurance among the top decliners, reminding investors that market momentum can shift quickly, in the market there. So it's 0.41%, and back at breaching the 145,000 level, we're seeing 146,000 now. Johannesburg Stock Exchange, a big move up today, 1.10%, 112,148 points for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Let's get a check now on East. That's North Africa, EGX 30, 0.38%, up 41,000. Then in East Africa, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, big jump yesterday, 1.82%, 182 points for the NSI right there. Let's look at what's playing out in the Gulf region. These markets are closed. That's the EGX 30 closed, definitely. But the UAE, we're seeing markets open in UAE, Dubai index 0.94%, Abu Dhabi index 0.37% up. Other markets that are closed in the region yesterday, that's talking about the Tadawul, that closed in the green 0.49%. Qatari index down, closed yesterday 0.10%. Let's get a check now on the U.S. markets. We see stock futures notched up today this morning as traders are awaiting that inflation data that could further inform the Federal Reserve's upcoming interest rate decision. Then we see the tech-heavy NASDAQ, that's up 0.36% right there. And definitely these are the futures that give a direction on what to expect, for the markets when they close today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures, that's marginally down about 0.01%. S&P futures, 0.16%. Then we did get that big news earlier today. We see Netflix have agreed to buy the film and streaming business of Warner Brothers Discovery for about $72 billion. The streaming giant had emerged as the top bidder for Warner Bros. Ahead of rivals Comcast and Paramount Skydance after a drawn-out battle. So that's a big story there for Netflix today. We'll see how that impacts the share price of Netflix later on. But let's get a summary of what played out in the market yesterday from our correspondent, Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market was mixed on Thursday, as the Dow Jones was down at 0.1%, the S&P 500 was up at 0.1%, and the heavy tech NASDAQ was up at 0.2%, as there were some major gains in the tech industry on Thursday, as many investors are also expecting an interest rate cut in the month of December. As the Federal Reserve has not announced there will be any cuts in December, there is much expectation.
Thanks, Maria. Then we see for Asia, they traded mixed mostly today, following a subdued Wall Street session. Australia's ASX S&P 200 added about 0.19%. It's with the Nikkei down 1.05% to close. Kospi 1.78%, a big jump there, 4,100 points. Other markets we track, In Asia, we see the likes of, top picks, that declined by 1.05%. Then we'll see yields on the Japanese 10-year government bond. That rose 1.94%. The highest since July 2007. That's according to data from LSEG. And so for Nifty 50, that's a big jump to close, 0.59%, 26,186 points. We know investors there are looking out for data coming out in Asia and also in the US. Talking about that PCE data coming out today. But let's get a check on Europe now. Let's see what's playing out there. Let's head to Berlin. We have DW correspondent Chiponda Chibelu. Great to have you, Chip. What's the TGIF trade today?
Laddie, well, the TGIF trade is that European stocks are on track for a weekly rise, and that is after 3 sessions of gains. You do remember on Monday, European stocks did struggle, but now the Pan-European Stock 600 is actually up 0.3%, and Germany's DAX is trading 0.7% higher. Now, investors are actually waiting for the U.S. personal consumption expenditure report for September, and that will be released later today after being delayed because of the U.S. government shutdown a few weeks ago. Now, that report could shed more light about how the Federal Reserve may approach monetary policy easing. The most recent data that we've seen actually is that, and some remarks from the Fed have actually shown that there are now solid expectations of a rate cut next week. And of course, investors here in Germany, on the other hand, are breathing a sigh of relief after a key vote on pension reform in the German parliament today. And that could have, of course, tested Chancellor Friedrich Merz's coalition.
Yeah, investors just want to know, will they get a cut or not, this December from the U.S. But to another topic now, the European Union, they've agreed, to some new easing, restrictions on gene-edited crops. This could mark a major shift in how, food is grown in Europe. What's in the agreement?
Well, Laddie, EU negotiators have agreed on a new set of rules for the use of so-called new genomic techniques, NGTs, in agriculture. Now, these are plant breeding techniques such as gene editing, and they are used to change a small part of the genetic material of an animal, plant, or microbes. Now, in the new framework, there is an exclusion for gene-edited plants from the EU's strict regulations, and that will allow for such products to be sold in supermarkets without special labeling in the future. And on top of that, there is also a change in how patents are governed. The European Parliament had originally called for a patent ban to stop the privatization of gene-edited plants and to protect farmers' rights to freely use them. But the new framework now allows for patents for NGTs, with the exception of plants with traits or sequences that occur in nature or are produced by biological means. Now, under the deal, farmers will also retain the right to save and replant seeds.
Quite interesting. How is this expected to, benefit European agriculture?
According to the European Union, the bloc's new approach could help European farmers compete on the global markets. Now, Brussels says that this could boost food security and reduce the bloc's dependency on non-EU countries. Now, agriculture unions in the bloc are also in favor of the new framework. They say that new genome techniques could help support sustainability. Now, for instance, crops can be modified to make them more tolerant to drought and heat, and that, of course, reduces the need for water. And it would also be possible to grow more crops on smaller pieces of land. So that would, of course, enhance the efficiency of agriculture here and make European farmers more competitive. And the gene-edited crops could also have an effect on consumer behavior as well. That is because they could be used to make food more resistant to spoilage. So bananas and mushrooms wouldn't go brown as fast, for instance. Now that, of course, would help reduce food waste. But there are, of course, some concerns about how these changes are going to affect the environment and also the health of people on the long term.
Yeah, definitely. So much talk about fruits now and, editing. We just want the fruit to act the way it should act, Thank you so much, Chip. Do I enjoy the weekend at this point? Thank you.
You too.
All right, let's get a check on what's playing on the crypto space now. See, Binance just shook up its leadership. Co-founder Yi has been named as a co-CEO, joining Richard Tang at the helm. The move comes as Binance pushes to expand, globally, sharpen compliance and chart its next phase of growth in a turbulent regulatory landscape. Then we see SpaceX. They're making waves in the crypto world again, transferring over 1,083 bitcoins, valued at nearly $100 million, to a new wallet on the morning of December. That's today. That's December 5th. Analysts say the move could signal, strategic reshuffling of the company's digital assets, keeping investors and the market on alert. At this point, let's get check on stocks related to crypto companies. At this point, the likes of MasterCard, we did drill down on what's playing out with MasterCard yesterday, and definitely we did see it did close in the green yesterday. That's talking about MasterCard, the stock. No, that's strategy, MicroStrategy. Actually, talking about MicroStrategy. If you can put that up for me, you see those stocks that are stocks related to crypto. Definitely, we know how whatever plays out with Bitcoin affects most of those stocks. Well, we'll drill down on what's playing out with them later on next week. There you have it. MicroStrategy 1.26%, Marathon Digital 0.24% close. So we're seeing red there, and I guess that's also leading into the pullback. We're seeing the crypto market with Bitcoin there pulling back big there, about $91,000. So that's the TGIF trade today. I'll bring you updates on what's playing out. That's for the local boss. That's for the close for this first trading week of December. It's been quite topsy-turvy for some asset classes. We'll bring you more updates and definitely to get you that right trade for December. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. It's bye for now.